Kyle here from allmediareviews.blogspot.com. I'm going to do two videos now, hopefully relatively quickly. One is just a vinyl / CD update. Okay, so just to kind of go through this, largely in the interest of time. I am 2 weeks before my wedding, or less than 2 weeks now, so we're really at crunch time, as they say in sports, especially basketball. But yeah, a couple weeks ago, I was at Barely Brothers looking for stuff for the wedding, ironically. And I was telling the clerk, actually, it's like, well, certain bands I can never find, or they're too expensive. One of them being the Mars Volta, which I've mentioned in previous videos. Most of the standard full lengths from the Mars Volta are, I've seen them for as much as, I don't know, $200, something like that, $250 at points. Sometimes they're in the maybe $70, $80 range, or even $60 range, but I mean, you don't see them that much. I think Agarda Records I saw, I think it was Delouse and the Cormatorum, they wanted like 100 or 110 or 120. Anyway, I found this. I showed a 7-inch a couple of months ago, but this is a picture disc, which, you know, I'm not sure how rare it is. I think it's relatively rare, but probably not like super rare, nothing like that. But of Televators and Eriatarka, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. These are two songs from Delouse and the Cormatorum, the first full-length the Mars Volta record. You know, so, and it wasn't, you know, obviously I wouldn't have bought it if it would have been in that, you know, 50, 60, 80, even $40 I probably would have passed, but, you know, this was $18, so I was like, alright, picture disc, the Mars Volta, you don't see it, here's the, you know, the artwork it comes with. So yeah, another cool thing to have. You know, actually this does have a limited pressing, 3,885 out of 5,000, so as you can see there. So yeah, it does have some rarity value beyond just being a cool looking picture disc and the Mars Volta. So now I can count two items in my vinyl collection from the Mars Volta. So let's see if I'm doing this in the right order. Alright, not exactly, but I think I'll just do it in the order. Yeah, okay. So, and I think it was at the same place. I think it was the same night I finally did find, as I mentioned, I was doing my Rush artist review, Random Artist feature kind of things. If I ever saw a first pressing of Presto, I would snatch it up, because I bought the reissue that came out, the 180 gram, within the last year. It was like 2015 or early 2016, and this seems like it's barely been played, so it's not 180 gram, but you know, this is, as I said before, to me this is the last great Rush album. 4.5 stars is what I put it at. So yep. I couldn't pass this up, and it wasn't, I think the clerk, as I mentioned, I was shopping for my wedding, he gave me a slight discount on it, like 10% or something like that, so that was cool. Thumbs up to Barely Brothers, and thumbs up to whoever did not want to keep this, because this is one of my favorite Rush albums, and like I said, the last Rush album I really loved, or the last in their history. So so then just this past Friday night, a little more vinyl shopping, knowing that there were a bunch of new releases, I did some shopping, but the first thing I found that wasn't actually new, I went to Cheapo in St. Paul, XTC's first album. It's called White Music, and to be completely, as I say, completely honest, the truth be, I have never heard this record. XTC is a band it's like some bands I dive in head first, full on, and just try to consume all their music, or a lot of the music. XTC is sort of one of those bands that you kind of have to, they're a slow burn, you know, and their early music, this is from '78, White Music, that period of time, just like some of the bands from their contemporaries, like Talking Heads, were in New York, they were British, and like Gang of Four, I want to say, and they were a little earlier, but they kind of might have been lumped in slightly with that scene, like Sparks. I could be off by that, but anyway, the quote-unquote post-punk sound, I guess, is more prominent on this record, in this period, the 70s XTC. But as much as I've investigated and learned to appreciate a lot of XTC's music, I still have a lot of work, even though it's sort of the first time I probably tried checking them out was when it was one of my last job. It was over 10 years ago. So, but they didn't fully, grab me right away. And most of their music doesn't. I think most of their music, the first few times you listen to it, may not. If you, and this is no, not wanting to go in, may not, be music that really clicks right away. Just because I think partly because Andy Partridge's style of vocals. I think I'm gonna have to take care of this later. But yeah, I'll have to check this out. Among the early, there was a record that followed that in the late 70s, I think 79 or maybe 80. This was rated higher, but I think when they did like Black something, the Black Sea, Drums and Wires, all the stuff that led up to Skylarking. They had, I don't know, they had like 5 or 6 records in about a 6-year span. I'm not sure if this isn't among the best up until Skylarking, but it's certainly probably not the worst. So, and I didn't pay a lot. I paid $3.20 for it. So then, all right. So Friday we had a bunch of new releases, as I posted my video last week. The 2 biggies, one being the new album from the Deer Hunter, which I do not have a physical copy of. The vinyl, I believe, has been pushed back anyway. So even if I did not pre-order, the first time ever, I did not pre-order the Deer Hunter's new album, but it's not. The vinyl's either been pushed back to the 23rd, or it might even be into October. And I'm still on the fence about going to see them for various reasons on Friday. I can't see myself not going. But anyway, so that was one of the big releases on Friday. Another one was no song came out earlier, but of course the other big one for me was the new Local Natives album, Sunlit Youth, and just like XTC's album, I'm still in the process of digesting it or even listening to it because I haven't had the time at work. I've listened to the new Deer Hunter album and some others, but I haven't. I've listened to about half of it, and then for various reasons of work-related stuff, I'm doing different work. Don't have the time to put my headphones on, but anyway, this is the new album called Sunlit Youth. The cover art's been sort of criticized. The whole album has been sort of mixed from what I've read, although it's still really early on. But I think I mentioned this in the video last week. My overall kind of early impressions is a lot. It's like Local Natives, but it has more textures, maybe a little more electronic stuff. It reminds me a little more of Foals. Foals their influence is being felt, whether they're directly responsible for that or not, I don't know. But the funny thing about Foals also, their album that came out, What Went Down last year, right away was very mixed. It wasn't received nearly as well as some of the others, and then I've noticed in the last 6 months a lot more people talking about it. I saw some people said it was their best album, and I saw some people said they're not really getting it. But those are the people that probably loved the first Foals album. The people that loved Gorilla Manor, though, I don't know if they're really totally vibing on this record. But just to show what this thing came with, I guess maybe the most interesting part, I didn't even realize this. A lot of this artwork, pictures, what do they call those things? The thing I got with Kimbrough's record from a couple years ago. There's a word for it, but yeah, this is just maybe these were potential other covers. I don't know. Members. It's quite a collection of full-size colored photography, colored artistic photography, very capturing in the moment and then enhancing it. So, yeah, I don't know if this is supposed to be a concept album. They just decided, let's just, for the vinyl buying consumer and fan, we're gonna give them a little more insight into our daily lives over the last couple of years since the last record, and what Sunlit Youth, as the name of this album, is. This is taking a while. I'm gonna try to zoom through it a little bit pretty quickly here, because there's one other thing I need to show, which I almost did. Oh, they finally got the lyrics. Yeah, the song "Past Lives." That's the one that I've been listening to for a few months now. When it first released, a couple of these sheets do have the lyrics. So, "Past Lives" is a dreamy track. So, mesmerizing. Anyway, and they're coming here in a few weeks on tour, and that show is also up in the air. I think it might even be the same day as Sigur Rós, who I've never seen, but I don't know. I think the Deer Hunter and everything else is sort of on the back burner. We're going to see Mayor Hawthorne for my concert schedule that's the rest of this fall and stuff after this wedding's done. But because I did buy it or the early on, whatever, I did get this. It's like a 10-inch single, which includes Past Lives and Villainy on one side, and Fountain of Youth and Lyndon on another side. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, this might not be all that. That's a thick pressing though. All that big of a deal if this record ends up being as mixed or even as sort of I wouldn't say looked down upon, but just I don't know if this is a download card from Vinyl Gratification. It might be, or it's just an ad. It's just a little write-up. 10-inch vinyl with 3 tracks off the forthcoming, exclusive bonus track. On or after the day, take your receipt back to the store you may pre-order the album from. Your receipt will be marked by the record store clerk, and you will be then hand your copy of the album. So if you pre-ordered, that's what this is all about, and including the poster they gave me too at Cheapo. As you can see, got that and that, but I don't know. This album kind of, I'm gonna say it came out of nowhere, but a couple years ago, Local Natives were. I noticed everyone was getting into them and everything. So it might be kind of an overlooked record in like around 2017, 2018, 2019, and within their whole catalog, maybe the record that people tend to appreciate down the road. Whereas Gorilla Manor, they'll still love, but you can see where they've at least evolved a little bit. So I got 2 more records, and then I'll wrap this up. Actually, I'll just go with this one first. I have a copy of the debut album from the band, the Woods Brothers, self-titled album, the Woods Brothers, and it was largely produced by Casey Crescenzo of the Deer Hunter. I feel like I should be, holding that up a little bit more visually so people can see. These are 2 brothers out of California, Southern California, and they, the sound in here, Casey sings on the song Terra Firma. It's almost a concept album. It's a lot of keyboard-driven stuff. It's got a lot of other guests. I mean, go down the list. Tobias Forrest, he might be the guy that's from The Fall of Troy. I'm not certain because I don't know The Fall of Troy that well. Frankie Padano, Morgan Jones, Elliot Yamin, Ciara Buds, Jody Shell Gilbert, Thomas Arok. I think that might be the guy from Fall of Troy, actually, off Destruction. The Zamed brothers, and then Morgan Jones. Morgan Jones is featured on 2 songs because the 2 brothers, neither of them do any vocals, and they were gonna have Casey sing on every song. But yeah, this is, if you like the Deer Hunter, you like the Reina Kindo. Who else I was hearing some similarities? It's not metal, but it's like very, again, piano driven, almost like Native Construct in a way. Piano driven, sort of progressive college rock. Indie, that kind of stuff, and the production's really good. Very much Casey Crescenzo's stamp on this in terms of the production. Also, certainly is noticeable and is a very positive thing about it. But it might be a concept album. I'm not sure. Even though the title, sort of, there's interludes and stuff like that. There's a couple they called interlude 1, interlude 2. So, but I know they were the guys were on the Deer Hunter Lake in the River fans forum a couple of years ago talking it up, and then they released Terra Firma last summer in 2015. It was really good, so that's why I was optimistic about it and wanted to support them, and you can get it on cdbaby.com. So the last release, another 2016 release, like Local Natives, Sunlit Youth, and the Woods Brothers. I did finally get a copy of Fates Warning's Theories of Flight, and I did do a review, of course, of this record a couple months ago, and a lot of people have been talking about it, but it's kind of cool to finally get a really nice pressing of this record, this new record, which falls within at least the upper tier, as they type of say, upper echelon, upper area of their catalog. Some people are saying it's the best record they've ever done, and at one point it didn't last, but at one point it was at number 5 on Rate Your Music's 2016 album pull. It's dropped down, I think, like 16 or 17, so it's still holding up to a point, but here it is, yeah. Those epics, the light and shade of things, and I'm forgetting the title of the other one. You know, the tracks aren't actually pressed. It's interesting on the vinyl, which is not uncommon. I have a lot of The Ghost of Home. That's the one I'm thinking of, but really, I mean, it's 4 stars. I wouldn't be surprised if I just give in and give it 4.5 stars because it's held up. But I got something inside too, which is probably a download card or something, or it's an ad. It's on Inside Out. Maybe it's a CD, which I already have. I already bought the CD. I think I showed it. But yeah, oh, they do insert the compact disc as well. So I have a couple copies of this record. But I mean, it was pressed in Europe, but I found a dealer that was online that was selling it from the U.S. So, but yeah, that's about it for now. I'm gonna make, I think, maybe one more quick video. But thanks for watching. Please comment, like, subscribe. If you bought any CDs or vinyl recently, please let me know what you think. Some of this stuff, if you heard any of this stuff, I'd love to hear about it. Thanks for watching. Bye.